Well, hey there. Welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. If you are brand new to my channel, yay, you found me. I'm so glad, and I've been waiting for you. And if you're a subscriber returning, thank you so much for all of your support. I really appreciate it. So today, the movie I'm reviewing is called My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. This sequel to the franchise is now playing in theaters and for purchase on Vudu. The movie is rated PG-13. It's an hour and 31 minutes. And the movie review mom grade I'm giving it is a C plus. And I always feel bad giving grades of a C or C plus, C minus, but my husband always reminds me that's average. That's not terrible. An F would be terrible, which is true. I enjoyed this movie, but just not as much as I wanted to. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me give you an overview in a nutshell, and then I'll point out things I liked and didn't like, as well as offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about, interesting lines, funny lines, and recommendations for other films that are sort of similar that I think you might like and maybe even like better than this one. All right, you ready to dive in? Here we go. The newest addition to the My Big Fat Greek Wedding franchise is about this kooky family that we've met before and loved before as they travel to Greece for a long-awaited family reunion. Nia Vardalos stars in her breakout role from the first movie and directs this whole party, as well as serves as executive producer, I should say. The story is supposed to take place about 1 year after the events from the My Big Fat Greek Wedding Part 2. All right, so let me first give you some tips for parents. Because the movie is rated PG-13, your kids might be interested. If they saw the first one, here's some heads up. I think kids are going to be a little bored. And sadly, I think some adults will be as well. There is some Greek that's spoken, sometimes with and sometimes without subtitles. So there's a little bit of reading involved, not too much. There is a lot of alcohol. Some people get drunk. We see full frontal nudity on a man on the beach without a bathing suit, except he's holding like a soda bottle in front of his junk. And so thankfully, we don't have to see that. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of nudity there. A man, same guy, shaves a lot of his body parts in front of everyone at breakfast every day. And if you know Greeks, they're kind of a hairy bunch of people. And so it's kind of an ick factor there for me. Some of the themes that are illustrated really well are family, celebrating and honoring your heritage, childhood friends and memories, friendship, love, talk of refugees versus immigrants. I thought that was interesting. Supporting each other through life's changes. Oh, yeah. And then I forgot in the tips for parents, one of the characters is in the LGBTQ community, and that's sort of celebrated in the movie. Some of the things that I really liked about this movie are, first of all, fans of the franchise will get a kick out of seeing some of their favorite Greek characters in this family again. We get to see a lot of Greece. I finally got to travel there a few years ago and absolutely loved it, especially the food. Greek food is so much better in Greece than the American version of Greek food. We hit all of the big touristy spots, and we even took a quick flight over to Santorini, which is a little island off of Greece that belongs to Greece. So great. I love traveling in movies too because it gives me ideas of fun things to add to my travel bucket list. One of the characters in this movie is actually Syrian, and so we get to learn about some Syrian dance moves as she teaches them to some of the other characters. There's an important conversation in the movie about how some people work all of their lives saving their money, hoping that they'll have health to travel someday in the future after they retire. And I know a lot of people who live by that philosophy, but my husband and I definitely don't. We recognize that tomorrow is not promised. So we are committed to traveling as much as we can while we work. in between work as much as we can squeeze in between our work days, because we love to travel and we enjoy it so much. And there's no way we're waiting until we get older. Anyway, I highly recommend that strategy as well. Now, we also get to see a lot of our fan favorites in this movie and a few new characters. Nia Vardalos, who is perfect in the role of Fatula, who's called Tula in the movie. John Corbett, who is still as handsome as ever. And the two of them do not age. They both look incredible. Andrea Martin is hilarious as always. Lainey Kazan, Louis Mandylor, Elena Camporas, Gia Carides, and even Joey Fatone, the singer, which is so fun seeing him in this film. Missing from the cast are Michael Constantine, Bruce Gray, and Constantine Vardalos. Sadly, they all passed away since the last movie, part 2. The film is dedicated to them. So one scene from the very first film in the franchise is when all of the women pull each other's neck skin back when taking a photo, because it gets rid of all of this crepey skin. And I remember I just laughed, and I've done that with my sisters and friends on occasion just for laughs. So in this movie, there's another little scene, and a new character in Greece teaches the Americans another tip for the perfect photo. And it just made me laugh. And yes, I'm going to try that with my friends and my sisters. So speaking of the perfect shot, Barry Peterson has the lucky job of cinematographer in this film. It's really hard to take a bad shot when you're in beautiful Greece, but he does a great job. Both Tom Hanks, Carrie Gutzman, let me say that name again, delete that. Gary Goatsman and Rita Wilson worked as producers. And as I mentioned, Nia Vardalos also serves as executive producer, as well as a few others. Stephanie Economou offers some original music, which is nice. And a lot of the music we hear is very Greek, which is fun. You just really get into the mood, and you're going to want to go to Greece after you see this. And it doesn't even show you all the best stuff of Greece. It just takes you to a beautiful little village. There are so many amazing things to see. And by the way, if you do go, of course, you're going to go to Athens and see all of those. But there was one place my husband found, wasn't even on my radar. I had never heard of it. I'd never seen pictures of it. It's called Matera. And as soon as we all got there, our mouths just dropped to the floor. We were like, whoa, they are these tall mountains and little, big actually, churches and cathedrals on the top. I don't even know how they got to the top of these mountains. And they're just scattered around this beautiful green meadow. It's huge. Anyway, it's just jaw-dropping gorgeous. And pictures don't do it justice. But Google it, look it up as soon as you finish watching this, because it's amazing. Add that to your Greek tourist to do and to see list. Now, there is a very real element in the story of the matriarch in the family who now has dementia. My mother recently passed away, and if you have been watching my movie reviews for a while, you saw a very long gap in time as I was dealing with all of that. And I still have days where I really struggle. It's been a few months. I lost 3 parents in 3 months. My mother specifically to Alzheimer's and complications associated with dementia. And so every time I saw the scene in this movie that showed Maria Portokalos' character, always made me a little sad, but it is part of reality. And so part of the story dealt with who is going to be the next leader of the family, the matriarch, the patriarch, which is a really good question. And my family, my siblings have been asking ourselves that as well. And we've all taken on a few different roles. There are some touching moments when childhood friends are reunited. And I was like, it's just very sweet. And there are some cute moments and some running gags. Now, with all of that praise, there were some things I didn't like or just thought could have been done differently or better. Obviously, with a grade of C+, there was room for improvement. First of all, the movie is not as funny as we all wished it were. The first one is so charming, so funny, so novel. And this one, we know what to expect and we're expecting more. Otherwise, why have a sequel, right? So it was a little disappointing in that regard. And the story doesn't flow well. Some of the editing is choppy. The scenes and the storytelling are just sort of disconnected and sort of thrown together. So that was disappointing as well. It sure is convenient that everyone in Greece can speak English to all of the characters in the story. My experience in Greece was that they did not all speak English. There is some romance in the story, but the main couple already knows each other. And so they just finally admit that they want to get married. And then everybody talks about it. And then they get married. There is another very brief romantic moment where there's another couple. They don't like each other throughout the movie. And then in the last 30 seconds, they decide they're going to give it a go. And so it didn't really feel like a rom-com in a true sense. Now, let me share some funny lines and interesting lines. Whenever I watch movies, I write all of these things down simply so I can share them with you so you can get a little taste of the dialogue. So, for example, Maria Vakratsis says, I can do facials with Greek yogurt and the enema too. And you're just like, oh, I don't want that visual picture. And then one of the characters is talking to a monk and donating some stuff. And he's struggling trying to speak English or Greek between the two of them. And finally, the monk says in English, regift is a Greek word. And there's a running gag that all words have some Greek origin. In fact, the mother challenges her young daughter, see if you can even think of a word that doesn't have a Greek root. And she says, nachos, which I thought was hilarious and a good comeback. But it's true. A lot of Greek words, a lot of English words have a root word in Greek. And then another line is when John Corbett's character first lands in Greece and they go to this little village and he says, it's like we've gone back in time. And no kidding. There are so many ruins, Greek Romans everywhere. And you're walking on these 2,000-year-old stones and looking at these walls and sitting on these old benches that are thousands of years old. It's incredible. We just don't have anything like that in America. So I highly recommend it for history buffs. And then Maria Portokalis, who's played by Lainey Kazan, she says, we always have room for more love in this family as they are constantly welcoming in new people. And I love that as the family and the love grow. And then another line is spoken by Nick, who's played by Louis Mandylor. And he says, the problem is there's no head of the family anymore, which is the issue that I was talking about before. And so then they decide, okay, well, we still don't have the answer. We're just going to argue about it like Greek families do until we come up with a solution. And I thought that was cute. You can see the rest of the lines that I wrote on my written review at moviereviewmom.com. All right, before you go, let me give you recommendations for 3 films that I think you might like better. The first recommendation is the first movie in the franchise, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, Part 1. I think it's the best of the franchise. So charming and sweet. The next one that I thought of is Meet the Parents, as this engaged couple now needs to be a couple in front of one of the parents. And they've got their own traditions and quirks, and it's hilarious with Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro. Fantastic. And then another movie that I thought of as I watched this is the musical Mamma Mia with Meryl Streep, partly because it all takes place on a Greek island and you get to experience that same Greek vibe where they are. I think Mykonos, I forget which island they're at. Anyway, that's it for my review. If my reviews help you in deciding how to spend your time and money watching movies, give me a thumbs up and subscribe and let all your friends know that come here and get the scoop on movies. All right, that's it. Have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.